I've got so many notes.
On what?
Just general housekeeping, and then some bowl games, and then on the Eagles.
All right, well, let's start off with the Eagles.
I don't want to yet. I just want to start off with the general housekeeping first.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so Penn State finally has a new DC, Tim Allen, former Indiana head coach. Another Penn State thing is that Julian Fleming, who was going to go to Penn State out of high school, wide receiver is crystal balled to Penn State, which would be great. My fantasy team shit the bed, and everyone got hurt.
Did you
in the
lose?
first round of playoffs? Yeah, I also had the Chargers defense.
That was bad.
And they gave up 63 to the Raiders. Ja Morant back last night. 34, 8, and 6 in a game winner. It's good to see him back. And then I wanted to give AB some credit because we do make fun of him a good bit. But I think his last two podcast guests are going to be pretty good. Jack Mack from Barstool, and then the UAB head coach Trent Dilfer is coming up on the next one. And Trent Dilfer goes on the Ryan Russillo pod a lot, and I always love when he's on there. Guy just knows ball.
Yeah.
And even when he wasn't coaching and was going on there, it was still sick to just hear him talk about
that's me though.
What?
I told Adam to do that he's been talking back and forth with Trent for like a long time, but I put that original bug in his ear, like, dude, you got to get Trent Dilfer on the pod. He always does Ryan Russillo's.
He's the man, dude. I'm gonna have to tune into this one. I know UAB wasn't great this year, but it is what it is. It's first year head coach. They played Georgia, and I'm sure that didn't go well. But I mean, either way, Trent Dilfer's sick, and it's pretty cool that AB finally got him on the pod. So there's that. And then you head to Boston this weekend for another Travis concert. I saw that he was in New York last night. My boy Taco went, and he played Fiend 10 times in a row. So
yeah, I saw people on Twitter being like, somebody, the Jameson, Marshall, and Mason Marshall. I saw Mason
Icewater Chase.
Yeah, he was like, that seems terrible. And I was like, I was in attendance. It doesn't matter how many times he plays that in a row. The energy in the place is like the reasoning behind it. And it's like, it's like not weird or like disappointing. It's like every single time he plays it, it's like super electric.
He also doesn't play the full song. He probably plays like the first 25 seconds.
Yeah, like it's nothing crazy. It's like,
yeah,
it's enough to like get the people just like going.
Get the people going.
Yeah, it's good. It's just so funny. It's just funny. Like when he kept performing it in Philly, I was like cracking up for some reason. Like I just thought it was like it like just fit the entire vibe. But yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. I saw a bunch of videos that he posted. It looked equally as awesome as when we went. So enjoy.
Bro, I'm excited.
You're going Friday? Going
Saturday
up there?
night. Yeah, I'm going Friday. The concert, like we're like club level. So like the one row up, but we're like the 100 level, like right in the middle of the stage and like in the first row of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's going to be awesome.
I think that like low key, it might be like perfect seats.
Yeah. If you're right in the middle, first row, regardless of how high up you are, I really don't think that's a bad seat at all.
No, it'll be, I think, just based on where we sat and like if we're just up on the club level, but in that front row and like not having to like look like we're like dead middle, we'll be able to like see everything. I think it'll be a perfect seat. But yeah, I'm juiced.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick. But yeah, that's all that I wanted to mention. A few things before we got into it.
Yeah.
If you want me to go off about the Eagles, I can.
Yeah, I'll listen. I'll let you go off on the Eagles. I don't have much to say just because like they're just in a slump and like this happens, and I have like an entire other point that I'll like kind of like dive into like that goes off of the Eagles point. But yeah, like go ahead and do what you need to do.
All right, I want to preface this with I understand that slumps happen. I understand that there's ups and downs to a season. I understand the Eagles have a hard schedule. My concern comes with the fact that I expect them to win against Cowboys, Bills, Chiefs, Niners, Cowboys. Did I expect them to win every single one of those games? Absolutely not. They went 3-2, but what I would have my reason for concern is just how bad they looked in those two losses. The offense looked completely out of sync, and the defense just seemed stuck in mud, and the opposing offense was pretty much getting whatever they wanted. My other reason for concern is that an opportunity for them to clearly bounce back against a Seahawks team that didn't have a starting quarterback and didn't have three starters on defense, and you come out there and the offense still looks equally as bad, and then on top of that to give up a 92-yard game-winning drive to a backup quarterback is certainly concerning to me. Now, Drew Lock had the absolute best drive of his entire life. Props to him for that. But my overlying thing is like, the offense looks so bad. And I get Jalen Hurts was sick. If you're going to look sick and play that bad, just don't play. Because then I could at least hang my hat on the fact that, all right, you lose this game, starting quarterback isn't playing. But Jalen has not looked good the last 3 weeks on offense. And then one other thing before I have a bunch of other stuff, but just to break it up a little bit, Sirianni met with the media today, and the second interception that Jalen threw on the last possession of the game when they're starting to drive down the field, and Sirianni goes, "We were looking to draw a pass interference on that play," which it clearly looked like that was the case now that he mentioned it, because Jalen just chucked it up there to A.J. Brown. And I get it. It's great when those plays work, but relying on a pass interference in a situation where you have 3 timeouts and you're on the 40-yard line and you probably need like 15 more yards to get a first down is chicken shit.
Yeah.
I think it's a really bad coaching decision. I think it looks really bad that he said that, and that just adds to my concern. With the amount of guys on that offense, there's no reason that you should have to rely on a defensive pass interference in order to get you into field goal range. I have some other things, but I'll hold off for now.
Yeah, I think you're right. Another thing that like I think is that stands out is like Christian McCaffrey was on the Peyton cast and they line up and Christian McCaffrey goes, "Yep, the tight end's going to go left and this is a quarterback draw right to the left." The Eagles are just so predictable. They run the same 8 plays, like literally. Like they run like RPO, screen on both sides, a deep shot, and like quarterback runs, tush push. Like,
yep,
it's a very basic offense that I think when you're like game planning for, it's like, okay, like let's just take away AJ Brown from this equation, and then like we can probably make them look like relatively pretty normal. And then on top of it, like it's weird when like the run game is working, and we've talked about this for so long. The run game's working so well, and they like just refuse to like allow like kind of like what Seattle did. Like Seattle just gave the ball to Kenny Walker. Like that's what they needed to do. That's what the Eagles should have done with DeAndre Swift the entire game. So I was a little confused by like that. And then like Bo texted me or called me and he was like, "Do you think Jalen Hurts is that guy?" And I was like, I do. But like I also think that there's like a big discrepancy right now with like quarterback play in the entire NFL. What it comes down to is coaching and like the offensive play callers. I don't think that that all of the NFL teams are in a really great spot right now with their play callers. Like the Eagles lost their OC and DC in the same offseason, which doesn't happen too often. So they lose both of those guys. They bring two guys in. I think it's like really clear that the OC is like isn't ready yet. And I think that that's like pretty obvious because his offense is not great. And like and on top of that, like the quarterback play across the league where it's like, okay, like why are the quarterbacks playing so poorly? But then you look at it like a situation where Jake Browning comes in for Joe Burrow and they're doing everything for him by helping him like gain confidence, by giving him easy throws to make, easy completions, and like starting to like build up throughout the game. When I feel like a lot of these other offensive coordinators and teams are just like making things like extremely difficult for their guys. So I guess like I think that like what's going on right now is like a coaching decline and like not a player decline, because Jalen Hurts is clearly still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I don't care. I don't think that that matters that he had a few bad games. It's going to happen. But like what needs to change is like the coaching needs to take a step up, because you look at the teams who are really well coached, they're still going out even with like lack of talent, lack of players, and like still being able to win games. Like first thing that comes to mind is the Cardinals play really well, even though that their roster is like one of the worst in the NFL. The Colts are a playoff team with a backup quarterback. The Bengals haven't missed a step since their franchise quarterback has been out. And all of those,
the Vikings have looked good too at
yeah,
times without Kirk Cousins.
yeah, and all of those coaches are offensive minded coaches for the most part who have good coordinators and put together a good game plan and make the game easier for their guys, because they understand that they don't have the like Josh Allen, which I would argue that like even since the firing of their last OC, like they're not relying on Josh Allen to do that anymore. He threw for 97 yards this week. So I think it's just like I think it's like a bigger part of like the ether, like in the NFL currently, where it's like, okay, why is the quarterback play so bad? Then you have to like kind of link it back to like what the coaches are doing and like how the offenses look. And right now, I think the Eagles offense, like you can like literally like a bozo can sit on the couch and kind of know what the Eagles are about to run. They don't make it like they're not very creative at all.
And I fully agree with you. Like the coaching is definitely an issue. The most frustrating part is that early in that game, the Eagles actually schemed up some pretty nice stuff as far as like getting guys open, and they utilized the middle of the field a good amount. That was really working. Like when they were getting Smitty in the middle of the field, when they were getting Dallas Goddard in the middle of the field, they were able to get some pretty easy, pretty open throws for like 6, 7, 8 yards. And just being able to scheme that up makes such a difference to the fact where, like, if you get the Eagles are realistically probably getting what, like 4 yards every carry. So on first down, second down, you get 4 yards. You start off your drive, first down, you run for 4 yards, you're automatically in 2nd and 6. Depending on where you're at on the field, you have you have the tush push in your back pocket, and you're gonna get at least a yard with that. So you're already at 2nd and 5. Now, say you scheme up some really good plays that are easy, that are allowing these receivers to get open much easier than what they're currently dealing with right now, and you got yourself a pretty easy first down. Um, right now, it seems like the Eagles, and I don't have a problem with simplicity. And if it isn't broke, don't fix it, because that's what worked last year. But clearly, we're starting to see teams adjust, and the Eagles haven't been able to adjust on offense yet. I think one thing that they do is they rely on AJ Brown and Dallas Goddard and Devontae Smith getting open on their own a lot of the time. And that's great when you have that because it just makes your offense a lot easier. Um, but in the grand scheme of things, you got to be able to scheme up some plays that get these guys open every once in a while, so they're not constantly having to beat corners in order to be open. And those guys can do it. They're all great. 2 top 15 receivers, top 5, 6 tight end. Like they have great players, but just making some easy route combinations for these guys to get open is going to make all the difference because then it opens up the run game to more options, and then it opens the run game, and then it just makes everything a lot easier. So it's frustrating to watch right now. I don't know if they're going to be able to fix it at this point.
I just think that like every player in the NFL could probably agree that the Eagles roster construction is like amongst the best. I know that everybody has a pretty big problem with James Bradbury now, like rightfully so, but like the rest of the team, like, and like their secondary isn't great, but like you traded for Kevin Byard, you have 2 names at corner, like the roster construction isn't really the issue in my eyes. I just think it's a clear coaching problem. I don't know what else to really say. That's just what I think, and yeah.
Yeah, I saw somebody talking about like the 3rd wide receiver spot, and I don't think Quez Watkins deserves to be on this team, if we're being completely honest. It feels like every time he gets a target, something bad happens. And I don't think the wide receiver 3 spot is the lack of production from that is why this offense hasn't looked good because
that's what I was like. That's like a really ridiculous statement.
Yeah, and because they're so good everywhere else. But I think they just need to let Zucchini in there and Julio Jones go in there because Julio Jones, like all those guys really have to do is just find some open space in a defense. They don't need either one of those guys to take the top off of a defense to be a deep threat to go out there and have 7, 8, 9 catches a game. Like they just need to be consistent. Like if you can get like 3 for 35, that's probably the most receptions a wide receiver 3 has had on the Eagles all year.
They don't play like that. That's what I'm talking about. That's our issue right here. I get you. I feel you, but they just don't play like that. So, bro, there was a million times last night where I was so confused why like they weren't utilizing Dallas Goedert a lot more, like across the middle of the field or like whatever, like allowing him to run option routes to find the soft spots in the defense. That's not how they call plays. So that's a great theory and like that's fine, but like they're not going to do that.
I know, and it needs to change. They
So
need
like
to
even if it was Quez Watkins, like you might be like, okay, things go wrong when the ball goes to him, but that role that you're even saying right now, like you won't see that like from any of the receivers. So it's like, okay, like that's a good idea, but like that's not how they're playing, and that's not what they're gonna do.
Right. And they shouldn't have to rely on a Quez Watkins or even a wide receiver 3 to be like the game changer because they have guys all across that offense. But flipping to the defensive side of the ball, James Bradbury, it's time to sit down, take a seat, get some water. Just terrible, terrible, terrible job from him. And I think his saving grace last year was that our pass rush was so good and it's not really close to what it was last year, and he's getting exposed. I think I think the pass rush being so good made him not have to worry about covering for nearly as long because quarterbacks were feeling it and had to get the ball out quicker. Makes everybody else's job a little bit easier. And with the pass rush not being where it's at, it's just exposing him for being a absolute trash bag. I mean, your only job on that last drive is don't give up a touchdown. It's the only thing that you have to do is not give up a touchdown. When the ball is snapped, you fucking hightail it out of there, and he got cooked. It's inexcusable. It's just really, really bad. And it's even worse because he was targeted the entire last drive, gave up every catch. Um, it, it was infuriating. And you have Keely Ringo over there, and I'm not saying that that kid's going to be Jalen Ramsey, but if they're not targeting him and they're going after a veteran, what's that say?
Yeah, I mean, I disagree like pretty heavily. Again, I think this is a big coaching personnel problem. Like you said, maybe take him out in that situation if you can't depend on him. Second, um, they don't have any big money corners on their team. They just don't. So you have to look at like how the defense is constructed. Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat are their highest paid players on defense, and they aren't showing up and making an impact on the game. When you have the defense the way that it is constructed, you are relying on those guys to step up and make a difference, especially in crunch time. I'm not looking for James Bradbury to make the difference and on the play on the final drive or whatever like that. And I know it's his job, and I know that he should be doing that. And you need to step
I'm not asking
up.
him to make. I'm not asking him to make an intercept. I'm not asking him to pick the ball off. I'm asking him to not get beat deep on a third down play when your only job is to not give up a touchdown.
Yeah,
That's all that I'm asking.
Like I said, I just think it literally goes back to the defensive play calling in those high leverage moments last night to even put him in that situation. What was a flaw on the coaching staff. And I just think, and like I said, I think that they're big money players who they paid a lot of money to go out and perform. They're not being the difference makers that they were last year. And like, you kind of expect out of them on a week to week basis. I think that's the issue. But
I think I agree with you with that part. I think the D line needs to be better. But they've also all played more snaps than they have in their whole career thus far in the season. And I just think they're gassed.
Yeah,
I think they look like they're running in mud. They have a rookie starting on the D line who his most snaps was like 350 back at Georgia. Jordan Davis, obviously he played last year, but his snaps are all up. Like, they have other guys along that D line that can rotate in. I think you're going to start to see Nolan Smith get more reps, just to sort of give these guys somewhat of a break. But they have to start rotating these guys in a little bit more if they want their high leverage guys to be fresh when the time comes. And now I will say that Hassan Reddick has had a couple moments this year where a sack was needed or some serious pressure was needed at the end of a game, and he was able to get there. But these last few weeks have just been rough, and I think it's just a matter of these guys are gassed.
Yeah, and man, like, listen, like, like I said, I just think, like, I understand the frustration because when you see the plays that are going on the other night, like, it's Bradbury getting torched and you're like, wow, that's on Bradbury. And like, it's just so easy to blame him when I just feel like there's so much more that goes into it than just that. If they want a big money corner, they knew what their corner situation was and their secondary situation was walking into the season. They were fine with starting Reed Blankenship. They were fine with playing Sidney Brown. Like,
I'm fine with that too. Like, I'm fine with it too.
They knew all of this already. And like I said, I think like having to switch defensive play callers to Matt Patricia before the game, and it says a lot. It just says a lot more. Like, that is a big issue. Like, their defensive play calling, their scheme right now isn't good. So like that is, for me, flat the issue. Like, I know that Bradbury has given up some plays, but like, he's still, like, he could still do it, but it's not like you're paying him to be a cornerback one and you're like, what the fuck, we pay this guy all this money and he can't even do anything. Like, he's like Eli Apple. So like, I know that he has like a name, but like, you have to like look at him as a different player. at where he's at in his career and like how the team is constructed on defense. So we can go on all day about the Eagles. So make your last point and let's go on.
Yeah. So this is like my final thought on kind of how I see the rest of the season panning out. I think they end up losing one of these last 3 games. And then if they end up playing the Rams or the Lions in the first round, I think they lose. If they end up somehow playing the Bucks or the Packers, I think they win and then end up losing in the second round to whoever they play.
Yeah, I think the Eagles end up losing in the conference championship. That's what I think, and that's my prediction.
All right.
Dallas gets rolled on by Buffalo. If you would have told me that was the score, I would have thought Josh Allen had 400 yards passing.
Yeah.
He finished with 97. James Cook had like a random legacy game against the Dallas defense.
Dude, James Cook, ever since Joe Brady has taken over that offense, James Cook has been unclogged. He's been going crazy.
Yeah, he has been for sure. And it was bad. I mean, there's really not much. They
got their breaks beaten in.
They were also due to lose. Like I think that there always comes down to a point in the season where it's like, okay, like you guys are smoking hot. Everything's been going right. Like you guys are due to fucking lose this game probably. And that's exactly what went out and happened. I think probably the most concerning part is probably like the Dallas run defense that you probably like that everybody probably thought was like relatively decent. I think it kind of got exposed a little bit. And I think multiple teams have exposed it this year and they're just not as tough up front as like we thought, but that's pretty much it.
I think the Bills just wanted it more and they knew they needed to have that game. I mean, every game this point is a playoff game for the Bills, not necessarily for the Cowboys. It's in Buffalo, and like the Cowboys are not good on the road. So, I mean, everything leaned in favor of the Bills there, I would say. And I mean, they just came out and stomped them. They just played big boy football on both sides of the ball, honestly. And they shut down the Cowboys. So that was at least nice to see this weekend. But the Bills still need to keep winning. I think if they win out, they win that division.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an ass kicking for the Bills, which was nice. Like I said, what is the next game you're thinking here?
I was just gonna go off on. I have like 2 things I want to do, and we can kind of touch base on like a few of the games. But the next thing I wanted to talk about were like the injuries this season on the offensive side of the football, and how everyone has like multiple. Like I saw Tom Brady be like, the quarterbacks need to pay for throwing hospital balls. And I completely agree with that. I think that there is a point where the quarterback needs to be held responsible, be like, dude, you cannot throw that ball. Like, but at the same time, like the same people who like get pissed off in a high leverage moment that a quarterback gets like a roughing the passer call and it was like kind of soft, like these wide receivers and quarterbacks, like moving forward for the next forever that we watch football, are going to get these calls, and the defense is going to be the ones paying for it because everybody just sits around and bitches about how there's bad quarterback play. A bunch of teams have backup quarterbacks. So now moving forward, like you can guarantee that the offensive player is going to be ultra protected, and the quarterback being the number 1 first on that list of being protected, because we can't like have this happen again. And the league realizes that, like, they're like, we can't have 10 teams on their second string quarterback. We can't have 4 on their third string. Like, it's just a bad look. Like, we're putting out a bad product because we're letting these guys get roughed up. So moving forward, obviously, I know everybody hates those calls, but they're going to be happening at a lot more rate and probably even on softer hits.
Yeah. I'm assuming this is in sort of response to that Steelers-Colts game.
Yeah, I mean, he got that was the most avoidable hit of all time. And like, that was just like fucked up. Like it was
You're
just
saying
like,
that Steelers safety could have avoided that.
yeah, he was diving. It was just like so
Yes. Okay.
pointless.
No,
Like,
I'm just
yeah,
confirming we're on the same page
yeah,
because I got into an argument about this over the weekend as well. Um, if I'm the safety in that position and I've already been flagged and fined multiple times for like unnecessary roughness, and you know in the back of your head that wide receivers and quarterbacks get benefit of the doubt when it comes to plays like that, and you see Michael Pittman laying out on a play,
yeah.
that's one that you just chalk up and you're like, okay, if he makes the catch, great. If not, cool.
We just touch him and he's
You
gonna
just
go
live to
down.
see it. You just live to see another play if he makes that catch, right? Um, I don't know what you do. Like it, other than those two things, I don't know what you do in that position if you're a safety. Like realistically, it's either run through his head or don't do anything. So I, he picked the wrong option for sure.
It's not even
But
that. It's like at a point, like when you're seeing that, and I get that
he,
he's like trying to make a play, but like he's laid out like play contain, like get ready, like as soon as he hits the ground, like get on top of him. Like you know what I
that
mean? Like touch him.
yeah,
Like
that safety was also about 8 yards off the ball, or away from Michael Pittman when that ball was thrown. So he's seeing that whole play develop right in front of him. He's seeing Michael Pittman dive. And on top of that, not just necessarily him hitting Pittman in the head, the kid ducks his shoulder and ducks his head into him. Like, you know that's going to be flagged every time.
and then you look and now look at the Colts offense then after that play happens. You're out your number one wide receiver. You're out your number one running back. You're out your fucking number one rookie quarterback. Like that then like they went on and scored 30 points because Shane Steichen, like I said, is a great head coach. We talked about
Wizard.
that already. Like, but that's the shit that I'm talking about. The NFL wants their stars out on the field. Like they want the leading rusher from 2 years ago out on the field. They want the fourth overall pick out on the field, and they want Michael Pittman Jr., who's been a very solid upcoming wide receiver, out on the field because it's better for the fans, it's better for the game, and all of the above. So moving forward, don't be shocked when the NFL rule system switches very heavily and starts really protecting those offensive players. And I think it's rightfully so. Especially that play this weekend was like, I just thought that was like egregious because at the end of the day, like I get that you're playing against each other, but you guys are like literally like playing the same sport. Like at a point, like have some respect. Like I get that like you're trying to make a play, but like also at the same time, like, are you trying to like paralyze somebody so they like never walk ever again in their life? Because that was
Yeah.
like in my head, like when you watch a hit like that, like what intention do you have on that hit other than to just like be like, oh, I'm about to like actually like fucking hurt this dude. And like we've
Yeah.
had guys like that in the past in the NFL who haven't played out. Like think of like a Vontez Burfict or whatever like that, where every single team that played against them were like, well, fuck this dude, he sucks. Like it just like there's just no room for it in my head.
Yeah. I mean, I, on top of that, Michael Pittman couldn't even defend himself there to brace any of that hit, which is like the worst part. Cause I'm sure in a different scenario, he's able to brace himself. And I'm all for like a big hit. Like, as long as nobody like dies and it's illegal, then I'm cool with it. But a play like that, there's really only one outcome. And another thing that we didn't really mention was that, well, I mentioned that safety putting his head down. It's equally as unsafe for that guy as it is for the defenseless receiver, running back, quarterback, right? Like, I've only seen one guy that I can really remember get like severely injured, and it was a defensive player. Like
Yeah.
Ryan Shazier is the only guy that I've seen like actually get paralyzed from football. And he played defense, and at some point you have to be able to make an adjustment tackling. I understand you have probably gone your whole life putting your head down, but for the safety of yourself and for the safety of these players, man, you got to make an adjustment. And for your team too, like that play like really helped the Colts. It moved them all the way down the field, and I mean, it sucks. I mean, I hope Michael Pittman's okay, but it's tough.
So, 2 rule changes, and I'm expecting to see this is more flag calls on quarterback hits. Obviously, the targeting and the hip drop tackle is definitely going to be banned.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the hip drop one because I think it's just so hard to tackle somebody from behind. But maybe if there's, I don't know, I'd have to look into it more.
Yeah. Listen, we talked about it, so we won't go too much into it, but it always seems like all the tackles that are happening throughout the game is completely fine. And then you see like that one hip drop tackle during the game and the person gets hurt. And it's like
they break their ankle.
There was no hip drop tackles the entire game. And then that one happened and just so happened somebody got hurt. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I also don't want it to go to the point where it's like flag football. Like,
no.
That's not fun, but
it won't be. We're not. I don't think that like any statement said leans towards that at all because I don't think like that. I just think that like from the consumer standpoint, where if you ask like a normal person like who likes to place like parlays on the game, they sit around and they're like, oh, it's fucking bullshit that Joe Burrow's hurt. Like, oh, like this game's boring because there's only 21 points. Like that is like kind of the person who they're trying to like advertise to. Like those are the people who like they know that like if they can get this figured out, like the sport will explode. Like
the fringe guys.
Yeah, the fringe guys who like only like offense, let's say. Like they like everybody likes it to be an offensive game. So that I think the rule changes will kind of cater to that. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the current draft order. And I wanted to go through the top 10 of players available and team needs. And if that's cool with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're just going to do the top 10 right now. We're not going to do the full 32 because that would be fucking
We can save that for the off season.
Yeah. Well, I think it's starting to get to that kind of time where like this draft stuff is like really going to start to pick up. So I think probably like starting to get ahead of it. I know the NFL season's like still in absolutely full swing, but after these bowl games, the training shit is gonna like blow up. So, so number 1, the Carolina Panthers pick that the Chicago Bears own. So Chicago right now sits at the number 1 pick. New England number 2, Cardinals 3, the Commanders at 4, Chicago Bears at 5, Washington. I mean, the New York Football Giants at 6, the Jets at 7, Chargers at 8, Tennessee at 9, Atlanta at 10. So those are the first 10 picks of this NFL draft as it sits right now. And it kind of feels like this might be like low-key set in stone from the top 5 perspective. Don't you think?
So you're saying just strictly draft order.
Yeah, draft order. Like this draft order right now that you see, like I feel like the top 5 like is low-key like kind of set in stone. I mean, unless if the Bears go out and win a few more and the Chargers maybe like drop a few, but like it feels like that 1 through 5 is like pretty set, like solid right now.
Yeah, I would say that I really don't think the Panthers are going to win again, nor do I think nor do I think the Patriots win. The only team that I'm skeptical about is I can see a scenario. Washington, probably not, but I can see the Cardinals winning. I think the Cardinals end up beating the Eagles when they play, but
I hope.
I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like, so I'm not like super positive on that, but the Cardinals are the only team that I would realistically think would change a spot. But for the most part, I think this is pretty set.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do our top 10 mock draft right now. We obviously might have different ones, but like, I guess number 1, obviously the Chicago Bears. I think this is a different conversation, so we can have it, but Bears in my mind, probably need a quarterback, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what we've seen from Justin Fields down the stretch here would normally be enough to get you one more season on your current team. But I think the Bears kind of just want a fresh start with somebody. And I think that this draft is probably the perfect opportunity for that.
So do you think that you sit there? Do you think the Bears take any trade calls from anybody for that number one pick?
Uh,
If the Patriots call you up right now and you're Ryan Poles and offers you 3 first-round picks and you move to second and then move to first, do you take that?
um, I think they have to seriously consider it. I don't know how much they love Caleb Williams or Drake May, but
Yeah.
like I think you're going to get a pretty fucking good quarterback in either one of those guys. I think it realistically depends on like if they stay in that 5th pick, because I think that 5th pick is equally as important for them. Um, I think the 5th pick might be one that they look to move if they're
Okay.
really dead set on Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Because I think there's a couple other spots that they would want to address that I think having that 5th pick, they could end up moving back a little bit and maybe gaining some extra capital. Like, I think there's a few good receivers in this that could go in this first round. And I think one of the, if you're not getting Marvin Harrison, it's obviously him. And then the rest are kind of just like, I would say they're all around similar levels, but like you could move back a few spots and still get a really good receiver, which I think that, another tackle. But I think that number one pick might be more important to them as far as getting a quarterback.
So real quick,
I think I might have just contradicted myself.
no, listen,
right there,
I'm gonna just I'm gonna like guide you on this and just see what you have to say. I'm not gonna say too much. So the first overall pick, then you're gonna do Bears, and then you think it's Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I think they take a quarterback. I think it's going to be Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I know that like everybody like hates him now or whatever, but I think it's like an undoubtedly like he's gonna go number one. I just think that's just what's gonna happen. All right. Next pick, the New England Patriots are on the clock, obviously. I think their biggest position of need is quarterback. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a no doubter. I don't think you can. I don't think you can go as much help as they need all along the rest of that offense. I mean, offensive line, receiver, quarterback are 3 spots that they're severely lacking on over there. I don't think you can start another season with Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones as your quarterback options. I don't think that with the number 2 pick in a really good quarterback draft, I don't think that them going stopgap option would be their best move. So like when I mean get like a Jimmy Garoppolo or get like a Josh Dobbs or get like just a guy that can bridge you. I don't think that's the year for this. I think there's too many good quarterbacks in this draft. I'm taking Drake May if I'm the Patriots.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, what was your who is the player that you would take, and obviously, Drake May seems to be the consensus, number 2 at least at this point. Okay,
Although it would be tough for me to with Caleb Williams off the board, it would be really tough for me to say no to Marvin Harrison too.
yeah.
I think those two for the Patriots, realistically, I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. But end of the day, quarterback is the most important spot, and if you're not right there, none of that offense flows. So I think if it was a lesser quarterback class, they might go stopgap, but their quarterbacks right now are just really bad.
Listen, I think the biggest shock that's probably going to take on to everybody is like I think that you see probably Marvin Harrison fall out of the top 8. I I'm looking at how this board is lining up right now, and I'm just failing to see which team would take him at a point. If Chicago ends up taking a quarterback at 1, I could see him going at 5 to Chicago and them getting Caleb Williams and what's his name, and Marvin Harrison. But at the same time, because it seems like that they need to beef up that wide receiver room. But if they don't do that, like, they could easily go tackle. And if they don't take Marvin Harrison Jr., like, I could see him easily falling out of the top 8. I just can. I know that's like, I know that everybody thinks that he goes like top 3. I'm failing to see where he could go top 3, at least for me. With that being said, the Cardinals are on the clock.
You don't think the Cardinals would take him here? You have the insider.
For what, though?
The Cardinals don't have a clear wide receiver 1, I don't think.
Okay, they have the most cap room in the entire league. They have...
What are the wide receiver free agents looking like? I didn't get to do the deep dive into this.
It's fine.
I'm going based off of, like, I don't know the cap. Like, the Bears have the most cap room. They could fucking sign God.
I know that T. Higgins is
he is a free agent.
Is a free agent this offseason, which, like, who knows where that goes.
I'm pushing T. Higgins to the Colts.
I'm just like, why? Sorry. Wide receivers aren't that hard to come by. And we've had this conversation multiple times. So you look back in past drafts, all of the wide receivers that go into the first round are usually never the most successful wide receiver in the class ever. That's almost like a cold hard fact, where you go back through past draft classes and you see the wide receivers that were taken in the first round, and you're like, how the hell did that guy go in the first round and DK Metcalf fell to the second? How did that guy go? How did Corey Clement go or Corey Coleman from Baylor go in the first round, and AJ Brown falls to the second? Like, you have, over the last few years, AJ Brown second round, DK Metcalf second round, Michael Thomas second round. Say what you want about Michael Thomas, he had an all-time receiving season one year until injuries crept up on him. Diggs went in the 5th round. Tyreek Hill went in the 5th round. Amon-Ra St. Brown went in the 4th round. These are some big-time receivers that we're talking about here. And on top of it, these big-time wide receivers over the past few years have actually been available in trade talks. So, like, we've seen an AJ Brown get moved from Tennessee to Philadelphia. We've seen Tyreek Hill get moved from Kansas City to Miami. Not only are these guys, like, there's players popping up in the later rounds who are successful wide receivers and, like, literally the best in the class in later rounds, but even if there is a very successful, dominant number 1 wide receiver, there's actually a real possibility that they could actually pop up on the trade market. So when I have a top pick, when I'm picking in the top 10, let's say top 8 in this draft, I'm trying to get a position of priority that I know that I need to hit. And wide receiver for me just isn't one of those positions, because I think that they're kind of a dime a dozen at this point. There's multiple receivers in every single draft that kind of pop out and do their thing. Even in the late rounds, they pop out and do their thing, and they could be available in trade talks and also free agency. So I know that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a very touted prospect at this point, but how these teams and their positional needs, I'm just like not seeing how he goes.
Well, I think it's safe to say that wide receiver is still a positional need for the Cardinals. I'm not disagreeing with you that you can find good receivers in the late rounds. I just think that it's obviously going to be so much harder. But the Cardinals, like you mentioned, have cap space in their favor. So that part of it works. I think the free agency piece of it might be a little harder. Just because there's a lot more options that wide receivers and just players in general, like, you're not competing with all these other teams, right? Like, say they do go after T. Higgins, like, there's going to be a bunch of teams probably that are calling T. Higgins. But if you're at the like you're in this draft, you're the Cardinals, you're at the third spot, and Marvin Harrison is sitting there for you to take. I think that's a really hard thing to turn down, just because we've seen. I mean, you look at the first round wide receivers we've had over the past couple years, and they're undoubtedly a bunch of superstars in there. Like, it's crazy, but it's not impossible to find later round guys. I think it just is give and take with
which wide receivers in the last 3 years have been undoubtedly superstars
within the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Here. So I would say that this last year's draft wasn't the best, but in 2022, first round receivers have been Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison. That's why I said this one hasn't been the best. 2022, okay. I think Garrett Wilson is a star receiver. I think Chris Olave is a star receiver.
I think that they're decent players. I think Garrett Wilson has a higher upside, but yeah. I mean,
okay, 2021, we've got Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith.
I think that Jamar Chase is a hit. I think Devontae Smith's a hit. I think Jalen Waddle's a decent receiver.
Okay, 2020, Jerry Jeudy, bad, Ruggs, jail, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Brandon Ayuk.
Okay,
I think those three are all really, really
boom,
good.
No, listen to what you reread that. Reread the order.
Superstar. I think CeeDee Lamb's a superstar.
Time out. Reread the order that those wide receivers were taken in that draft. Reread it.
They were all first round picks, is my point.
No, positionally wise, what position in the draft, in that draft were those receivers taken?
Okay. Well, sure, fine. If we're going off of just strictly position, I'm going off of first round wide receiver.
Me too. I'm listening. So who got
Ruggs,
taken?
Ruggs, Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb.
Ruggs,
Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson.
And Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson was the 5th wide receiver taken off the board during that draft. And he is by far the best one.
No doubt. I'm going off of first round receivers. I think you're getting more of a lock in the first round drafting a receiver than you are in any other round.
I think that
is my point. That's I wasn't going off of.
I think it could be that, but if 9 times out of 10, and I think we just literally debunked it. The first receiver taken in the first round is literally not always the best. And like, I know that Marvin Harrison is like a can't miss prospect, but if they skip over the Cardinals have 2 first round picks. They have 2 seconds, 3 thirds. Like right now, the way that this draft is set up, I'm taking the tackle from Penn State. 10
so
times
you feel
10.
better about the Cardinals getting a tackle than a wide receiver. What
100%.
do you think Kyler Murray is saying in that room? They feel better about the offensive line or better about the receiving core?
Kyler Murray is going to say, I have Paris Johnson Jr. as my right tackle, and I have Alu as my left tackle, and I'm going to play all 17 games and be an absolute difference maker for this team. Because if you can protect him, that's the biggest issue with Kyler Murray. He's small and he gets banged up over the course of the season. Fair enough. I think that's a very fair thing to say about him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
If you take I think everybody thinks Alu is a cannot miss tackle.
I agree.
And
I think Paris Johnson, phenomenal.
And Paris Johnson Jr. has been playing out of his mind. If I'm the Cardinals and I have that 3rd overall pick, I'm taking Alu and I'm not even thinking twice about it. And I'm feeling amazing.
So Cardinals have 3 and they're back at 17. I still think they can end up getting a really good receiver, but like I said, it's just tough to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. in my eyes. But I totally understand your point. Like they could take Olu at 3, and then I'm looking here later round receivers like Keon Coleman, who I think is phenomenal, is at 23, and then the kid from Washington, Odunze, is there at 18. So like,
I think
it's a deep receiver class.
My personal opinion, I think everybody's probably going to like Malik Neighbors a ton.
He's at 5 to the Bears in this mock that I'm looking at.
I personally think that Keon Coleman should be talked about honestly just as much as Marvin Harrison Jr.
I tried pushing that agenda this year. It didn't work.
He is he's an apps, and we can save this conversation when we're breaking down like the shit, but early statement right now, Keon Coleman is 95% of the player that Marvin Harrison Jr. is, but whatever. We can get into that another time. So Cardinals on the clock, third pick. Who are you taking?
I mean, you might have convinced me to take a tackle because I'm seeing that Keon Coleman fell. And I think if I can get Keon Coleman and Olu Fashanu, that you're in a pretty good spot.
Bro. If you get that in the first round, you smash the first round. That's what I'm saying. Like, bro, you take the sure thing at tackle, and then you can get a wide receiver in the later half of the first round, bro. Like, that's a dog fucking first round draft by the Cardinals.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, you convinced me. So I'm taking Olu at 3.
Okay. Next on the list. So pretty much you kind of feel like, though, from the Cardinals' perspective, that they should add some sort of playmaker
100%
to the offense, but you also could see.
But they could do that. They could do that in free agency too. Like, I didn't know coming into this how much money they had, as far as like being able to sign guys. So like, I'd have to look and see who else a free agent, wide receiver. Obviously, T. Higgins is going to be one of the bigger names this offseason. But I mean, if you could end up getting Olu Fashanu and T. Higgins, I mean, and then you take a defensive player with your 17th pick, because can never have too many good defensive players.
To me.
That's pretty nasty.
That's all I gotta say. All right, Washington Commanders are on the clock. I think a lot of people feel like they found their quarterback. I think he's good actually, but they have playmakers. You could make a pretty convincing point to me right here that they would probably like try to reload up on the defensive line, but I probably think their biggest positional need is probably O-line, because they literally Sam Howell gets killed every single week,
every game. Yeah, I agree with you. I think since we already threw a fork in the road here and had the Cardinals taking Olu, I think the Commanders are either taking Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame, or some type of edge rusher. They got rid of all of the ones that they had this year. Their defense is the worst in the league. A name that I'm seeing is the edge from UCLA, Latu. I remember we watched him play Colorado, and he was in the backfield every single game, or every single play. Dallas Turner, the kid from Florida State, to
he just
Jared Verse. I think we could see one of those three or Joe Alt, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can realistically go wrong with either one of any of those kids. That O-line's brutal, and that defense is also equally as brutal.
Yeah, I think Joe Alt's a home run hire.
He seems more of a lock moving forward than anybody else. Because there's going to be a lot of people that probably have Joe Alt higher than Olu Fashanu
when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Okay. At 5, Chicago Bears, who do they take?
I mean, Marvin Harrison's off the board, and he's sitting with you he's sitting there at 5, and you're the Chicago Bears. You're standing at the you're literally standing at the podium with Roger Goodell with your pick as the Washington Commanders announce their pick.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison.
I respect that. I think
you're the Bears, and you have a chance to get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams in the same draft class. I mean, good for you.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think that's very realistic. And I know that a lot of people have kind of pinned a defensive player to the Chicago Bears, but their defense is actually not that bad. They obviously traded for a piece in the middle of the season, so I think that it makes complete sense that if you're going to take a quarterback at 1, you're going to re-dip back into the pool at 5. And if Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, scoop up Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that'd be a home run pick.
I also think that it's important to note their cap space too, because the rookie receiver deal and rookie quarterback deal is a cheat code if you can build everything else around them. I think the Bears would probably sign another guy to the O line, another offensive lineman, and then use any other money to sort of lock up another couple guys on defense too. But if you have two phenomenal players, one being your quarterback, another one being a receiver, both on rookie deals, I mean, that's scary.
At number 6, we have the New York Giants on the clock. I think that their probably biggest positional need is quarterback, and I know that they said that they're not going to take it, but I feel like you got to rip the Band-Aid off. And this is probably where I would throw the biggest loop into everything, but I think probably I would take Jalen Daniels here.
I don't know what you do if you're the Giants. You just paid Daniel Jones all this money. Nobody's going to want him on their team. You can't, what trade value are you realistically going to get for him?
Not much.
Let alone a team that wants him.
I think, bro, I mean, you see what happened this year, bro. I know that his deal is not favorable as of right now, but I mean, bro, let's just be real. Like, the Steelers, if they don't get Justin Fields, they might try to trade for Daniel Jones. If the Falcons don't get Justin Fields,
God, that would be terrible.
If the Falcons don't, I mean, I'm just being serious. If the Falcons don't get Justin Fields, I could see them trading for Daniel Jones. I think that the quarterback problem right now is big, and I think that there is going to be a little bit of a market for him. I don't think you're going to get a lot at all, but I think that you're going to be able to move him off your roster, and I think that they need to do that because they've clearly made the mistake. And I think it's an absolute dice roll taking Jalen Daniels, but this is so early in the process, and I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm gonna throw Jaden Daniels at 6.
So say you're the Steelers and you're trading for Daniel Jones. You're taking on $40 million a year, and it only goes up. And are you even sure that he's that much better than what you already have in Kenny Pickett?
I think he's way better than Kenny Pickett.
I'm just asking the hypothetical.
Yeah.
I don't, for $40 million a year, I don't think
it would be one of those
situations. Quarterback.
It'd be one of those situations though, where you take on percentage of the salary, the deal can get
like the Rodgers deal.
Yeah, stuff like that. It'll get worked out in a way, but yeah, I do think the Steelers think that, I mean, before the Kenny Pickett situation, they came out and said we're going to move to Mitch Trubisky even before he got hurt. Now they're on Mason Rudolph, and they're sitting there and
red-nosed reindeer.
And if you really think about it, you're you know what? Honestly, Daniel Jones actually wouldn't be the worst thing in the world right now.
Oh my God. I'm so glad that you brought this up because I'm going to run with this narrative. I'm just going to absolutely push for Daniel Jones to the Steelers because truly that would be the funniest thing.
Yeah, it would be.
But
who are you taking at 6?
There's so many. I think the Giants.
If the Giants take another wide receiver, I will freak out.
I was gonna say I think they have some decent guys at wide receiver. I don't think they need to go there. I don't think they need to go. Obviously, I don't think they need to go running back. I would want them to go quarterback if I was a fan, but I don't think you can go wrong with them taking another defensive lineman or offensive lineman. I just don't know. I just don't know what you do, dude. That's such a tough. It was such a tough spot for them because they have a $40 million a year quarterback. That sucks.
Dude, imagine hearing that as a fan. You're probably oh God, that hurts so bad.
If you get an edge rusher, you get one of the 3.
All right.
Dallas Turner, Laiatu, Latu. Those guys were good, but you're stuck with Daniel Jones. You're
all
in
right,
hell.
I'm just gonna write you down as New York Giants edge rusher.
Yeah, just put me in for the UCLA kid, Latu.
Okay, next pick is the funniest pick on the board is the Jets because at this point in our mock draft we have Alu off the board and Joe Alt. So the 2 best linemen are now gone. And I think that the Jets are such a poorly ran organization that they're going to take a wide receiver here, and I think that they would take Malik Neighbors.
I think they would take Brock Bowers,
Okay.
but I think they should take this offensive tackle from Alabama. Really, JC Latham. Realistically, it feels like you can't miss when you're picking a offensive lineman from Bama unless you're the Raiders in Alex Leatherwood. But yeah, it feels like most of the time those guys usually pan out.
He's gonna come on late.
Oh yeah, 6 years late.
All right,
I
like that. I agree with you.
I think they should take that kid from Bama, but it would be pure comedy if they got Brock Bowers.
Next pick on the clock. Los Angeles Chargers. This is one of those situations where they should probably take a million different positions, but they're going to take Brock Bowers. Like they should probably take like a speedy wide receiver, probably like maybe like.
I think they should take a defensive. I think they should take an edge here because Joey Bosa
sucks,
is hurt, and Khalil Mack is on like the back end of his NFL career. I think this is a perfect spot for them to take a defensive lineman.
Nice. So I'm just gonna put edge here.
Just put me down for Dallas Turner.
Nice. Dallas Turner. I think that they end up taking Brock Bowers, but we'll see. Next,
I don't think the tight ends they have are really that bad.
Yeah, Donald Parham.
But they're idiots. So
next on the clock, we had the Tennessee Titans, which I don't know like what's up with this team, and I think that this is going to be a sneaky, like weird team in the offseason that's like you don't know what's going on with their coaching staff, etc. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they would take here. I haven't dove in that much on it. So, but outside looking in, probably like I don't know, like maybe something on defense.
I mean, this would be the scenario where I say that they take Malik Nabbers, whatever, however you say his name. Like I don't even know who their receivers are.
D-Hop.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Treylon Burks.
He sucks.
The great first round pick in Treylon Burks.
He sucks. I thought he was going to be decent, but he's not good. D-Hop's 37.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably need a corner at some point, but I think they end up taking a receiver.
Okay.
So pencil me in for Malik.
The next pick on the board, the Atlanta Falcons. This pick will be heard around the world because they're really such a random team. My automatic feeling would probably be go edge.
That's what this has, but I think they're good on defense. Are we basing this off of we don't know any other moves that they're making this offseason? Like this is their first offseason move.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
just
if
the
this
first
is
reaction.
Dude, if that's the case, then like they should take a quarterback.
Who?
Did we already I haven't put Jaden Daniels on the map yet.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you can take Jalen Daniels here.
I would put him there. In the A.
Yeah, okay. Jaden Daniels at 10 to the Falcons. I think great first mock draft out of the top 10. So I agree with you, but we're gonna be an absolute lock on the top 10 this year.
Oh yeah, we're nailing it. I gotta go to New Jersey so I can bet on draft positional players. Yeah.
Let's just we're obviously at an hour now, so I'm just gonna highlight week 15 and hear your responses to it, if that's cool.
Hit me.
Raiders obviously won 63-21. Brandon Staley finally got fired. Thank God.
Thank God. Should have left him in Vegas.
I think they did.
Justin Herbert has been freed.
Yeah, that was one of the firings that we've been itching for. What's wrong?
I was just gonna say that's got to be like getting your chastity belt off if you're the Chargers. If you're a Chargers fan.
Yeah, I just think that that was like one that we've been like waiting for all year, so it felt good. Vikings blew one in OT to the Bengals on a push 2 times in a row, which was bizarre. Bengals 27-24.
T. Higgins with
The craziest
touchdown of the year nominee. And Jake Browning continues to ball out.
Yeah, he was carving up tonight. Yes, tonight, my bad.
Last Sunday. It's literally Wednesday.
The Indianapolis Colts beat Pittsburgh Steelers and they throttled them, and that felt good. 30-13. Pittsburgh's completely fraudulent.
That QB room needs to be sent to Guantanamo Bay if you're the Steelers.
For sure. Detroit, Denver, Russ finally didn't cook. Detroit's running game looked ridiculous. Jahmyr Gibbs' dog, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a sick tutty, and they came out on top. They finally put one away and put up a ton of points, and that's kind of what we want to see out of them. We all know that they're able to put up a ton of points, but I'm happy that they could stop Russ.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is better than Bijan Robinson. I will be running with that moving forward. I'm not entirely sure that it's close.
It hurts that Bijan isn't able to get the same opportunities as Jahmyr Gibbs in a good offense. I think that stings pretty bad to watch that play out this year.
The Falcons have a worse running back room too. There's literally zero reason that Bijan isn't getting 40 touches a game.
I don't know, but we can go right into that game. The Falcons with maybe the worst loss of the year, 7-9. The Panthers didn't score a touchdown and they still lost.
Those tickets were going for 45 cents at one point. I think there might have been 100 people in that stadium to start the game. Embarrassing loss if you're the Falcons. And I think that the Panthers have potentially the coolest black jerseys in the NFL.
Next game, Chicago blew one to Cleveland. Joe Flacco kind of balled again, which we have been talking about, but good win for Cleveland. They're going to be a playoff team, it looks like. And man, Justin Fields made some absolute dot throws that went super viral. The Robert Tonyan dropped one, and then he threw the game-winning Hail Mary, and it was in.
Dropped it.
Yeah, it was.
That's not a pass though that you can like. The Hail Mary is not a pass that you should realistically expect to be caught, but
it was in his.
That one should have been caught.
It was literally like in his chest. So rough loss for them.
Also the Robert Funyuns drop was just so bad.
So bad. Bad.
Do they have those like things that you put on your legs, like the huge like leg sleeves, like recovery sleeves?
Yeah.
Do they have those for your arm? Because I feel like Joe Flacco, like they need to throw him in one of those, or maybe just full body, like get him in the cryo.
He does. Tag. He probably does. He probably does.
He's thrown it 50 times a game at age 39.
Yeah, he looks good and good for them. Another candidate that we were kind of talking about where Kevin Stefanski like really has stepped up as like a good offensive coach, and even with Deshaun Watson going down and the entire like shit show at quarterback for them, like literally the entire year, they're still on top. They're still gonna probably end up being a playoff team, so good for them.
Pisses me off. The Browns are on their third quarterback, maybe fourth quarterback that they've had play this year.
Fourth.
The Vikings and the Bengals are all on backup quarterbacks, and their offenses just look so much better than the Eagles. But I digress.
Green Bay drops another game, let up a ton of points to the Buccaneers, and Baker Mayfield's literally playing like literally the best football of his career.
Career day for him.
Yeah.
Perfect passer rating. 4-5 touchdowns? I mean, didn't we just ask where Chris Godwin was all year?
Yeah.
And he goes 10 for 150 or something?
Every single time we do that, it pisses me off. I hate that. Every time we bring up a wide receiver, the next week they like have like 150 yards somehow.
I mean, it's good though, because we're noticing that good wide receivers are not showing up, and we have an eye for it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Next game, Miami absolutely handled business, 30-0. I saw a clip of Mike McDaniels this week from like the Hard Knocks where he like took ownership of the Titans loss, and Yeah, I think that he's like, I just don't understand how like you don't like that guy as your head coach. Like he seems like the best, and he seems like he carries a ton, and I think that he's going to be a head coach for a very long time.
Did you see the clip when he said he was predicting a one-play drive, and then it was like the 64-yard bomb to Waddle?
Yeah, he's
Elite.
crazy. He's a mastermind, but we talked about that already. Next game, the Tommy Cutlets miracle finally ran out. They got beat 24-6 by the Saints, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really watch too much of that game because I don't like either of those teams.
I didn't watch that game either. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really need to watch the Giants. I'm gonna have to watch them in the 2 out of the next 3 weeks. So I'll get my Tommy Cutlet fix on these next 3 weeks. Phil.
Another OT game. Houston stepped up with a ton of guys on the injury report. D'Amico Ryans should probably be in the head lead for coach of the year if they make the playoffs, because he's doing a lot with this roster that I think that like a lot of people like didn't respect in the beginning of the year. So good win for Houston. It looks like they're going to probably end up being a playoff team.
If you're the Titans, you can't wear the former Houston Oilers jerseys and then lose the game. So that was a Houston Oilers Texans revenge game, I think. I wish that our sweet prince CJ Stroud wasn't hurt. Looks like he's going to be out next week too. So
must have been a bad concussion. That sucks.
Yeah.
So I heard somebody say today, like the Chiefs like went into Gillette and like handled the Patriots. I watched every snap of this game because I hate the Chiefs so much. I mean, the Patriots handed them this game and they put up 27 points. Final score is 27-17. And it felt like the reasoning that they scored points because they were like on the short field a lot because of like mistakes that like Bailey Zappi was making. Another super unimpressive win for me, at least in my opinion, by the Chiefs. And yeah, I mean, I know that I hate on them a lot, but I just don't see it in them this year.
2 picks from Mahomes. At one point in our group chat, Sam Myers, biggest Pats fan that I know, was like, we actually might be able to win this game.
I thought so, bro.
And I had this game on as well. The Chiefs, just something's wrong with them. We've talked about them ad nauseum, but they're just not the scary Chiefs that they were. This game should have been a blowout, but it wasn't. So, I mean, the Patriots are tanking perfectly, as we previously mentioned, keeping it close with decent teams, and then ultimately losing.
Next game, 49ers Cardinals. This game was interesting because the Cardinals put up 29 points. Should have been more. I guess they threw a pick six. The Cardinals, Kyler did. So
that was a bad throw.
That was some of their points that were given up. The Chiefs, I mean the 49ers like obviously balled out. Christian McCaffrey had a career day. But what really stuck out to me was the fact that the Cardinals should have put up 36 points on them. And like, I didn't even like, it's just, why isn't that being talked about at all? Like, I think the 49ers defense is like actually like a little fraudulent. I mean, when you are giving up that many points to a team that like kind of like everybody, I know they covered the spread, but like everybody kind of like agrees that like the Cardinals suck, like, and you had a pick six. Like, I don't know. I just think that it's pretty crazy that the Cardinals put up that many points.
I think as we see Kyler like start to play a little bit more this year, obviously there's not many games left, but I think as he just starts to get more reps like in games and week to week, I think he's a tough matchup for defenses. Regardless of who you have at receiver, like Kyler can make a play. And if you're a defensive line and you're not containing him, he can torch you running or passing. So I think as he continues week to week, that's why the Cardinals scare me so much as far as the Eagles matchup goes, is just Kyler being a threat running and passing the football. This game is closer than the score represents, I think. But yeah, the Cardinals are like scary, low
Yeah,
key.
and Trey McBride is like one. He's been a dark horse fantasy like MVP in my opinion. Like he snaps, and Kyler loves him, and the routes that they have him run, they're super creative, and they use him very well. And he's a baller. So he's like a young star, and yeah, this Cardinal, I love this Cardinals team. So
Trey McBride, depending on who the Cardinals get this offseason and that for that receiving group, I mean, Trey McBride might be a top 5 tight end for fantasy.
No, bro, he's top 8 right now, and he didn't start playing until week 10.
Yeah, he might be like 3, honestly.
Yeah. Like he's
start got playing 10, 3, 8, 5, 7, 8, 10 receptions since he like started really playing.
Zach Ertz literally went on IR, and he got on IR, and Andrew said that like the front office side of things like really loved Trey, but the coaches were like, well, like we need to like get Zach in there because he's like more experienced. They're like, Trey's good. Like, and I mean, he's shown up, so good for him. Next game, Washington, LA. LA almost gave this one away, but Washington found a way to lose. So didn't really watch too much of this game either, but like red zone.
Yeah, I had this game just strictly red zone too. We got a pretty good Terry McLaurin game, 6 for 141 and a touchdown. Feels like he's been relatively quiet this year, which is strange because I saw a stat that with the amount of times that the Commanders throw the football, none of their wide receivers are like top 15 in fantasy.
Yeah.
It's so weird. They have like 3 good ones. 1 good one and 2 like decent good ones. But with the amount of times that they throw the football,
you'd think feels like dominant.
They should have 1, that's top 20.
Yeah, I'm with you. Next game, we talked about it already. Buffalo, Dallas. Buffalo absolutely handled business at home. So, anything on that?
No, we touched on it already. Just an absolute shit stomping.
Yeah. Next game. This one was, dude, this was the weirdest game ever. First off, Keaton Mitchell tearing his ACL was the worst thing ever. That sucked.
That play was terrible to watch. So his leg literally hit like the.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets full recovery and he's back because he's fun to watch. So big loss for them. But the Jaguars like shot themselves in the foot so many times. Like it was absolutely insane. And by what I mean by that is I think Trevor Lawrence played an absolutely awful game. 2 really bad fumbles. And
that one was crazy. It literally just fell out of his hand.
An absolutely boneheaded decision in the red zone right before halftime to like throw a flat to Parker Washington. Like he was off and it was weird. And then literally right after the game, he got put in concussion protocol. So I don't know what happened in that game, but like clearly something was off.
Yeah, that fumble, like I said, was so weird. There was nobody like really.
He just dropped.
Like he just dropped the ball.
Yeah,
and it was super surprising to see how bad that clock management was at the end of that first half. Like Trevor Lawrence is a smart quarterback and Doug Peterson is a smart head coach. Yeah. And for them to come away with 0 points there is inexcusable.
Bro, they missed 2 field goals. Then they missed out on points at the end of the half. And it was like after the half was over, I was like, they could literally be winning this game right now. And they have 0 points. So yeah, rough game for them. They need to clean it up. And I think that Christian Kirk injury is big for them. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but rough game for them. They need a bounce back week.
Yeah, I'm nervous that's 3 losses in a row. If you're the Jags, man, I'm nervous for them because they're going to Tampa and they're playing a Baker Mayfield led Buccaneers team that's been balling. So that's a tough matchup, especially if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play.
Oh, I'm right with you, brother. I'm right with you. I am right with you. We already touched on the Eagles game, so
yeah.
That's pretty much it. And then we can go into this week's slate for week 16, which is we're coming to the end. So RIP, it's been a hell of a ride. First game on the slate, probably one that I don't really care about too much, but the Saints versus the Rams. I don't really have too much of a feel for this game, like, at all.
I
feel like
I
it can
just
go either
don't
way.
like. Yeah, I think it can too. I just don't like the Saints. Feels like every time I've put money on them, they screw me over. So I'm going with the Rams.
Yeah, I'm probably with you on that. Next game, Bengals versus the Steelers. This one's rough too. Yeah, I feel like at some point you probably have to feel like the Jake Browning story like wears out like a little bit, like he struggles. I'm gonna pick it in this spot. Don't love the feeling of it, but maybe the Steelers to win outright. But don't love it.
See, I agree with you that the Jake Browning Linsanity run has to come to an end here soon. We saw it end with Josh Dobbs. Feels like all these backup quarterback runs sort of come to an end after like 3 weeks, somewhere in there, right? Like Tommy DeVito they lost to the Saints. Like it feels like 3 weeks is realistically like the max you get. With that being said, I fucking hate the Steelers, and I don't think Mason Rudolph is good.
Yeah,
But
fair.
this feels like a Steelers win. Late December, Steelers need a win to keep playoff hopes alive. Mason Rudolph starting. This feels like a win ugly game for the Steelers.
Yeah. Yeah, next game, Bills Chargers. Tough game. Tough night game because the Chargers stink.
Yeah.
What I don't really love anything on this is probably feels like an alt spread for the Bills, and I would probably take like the Bills team total over in this spot as well. I just think the Chargers probably get shit pumped by a lot of teams for the rest of the season. You sent it to me. They just seem disjointed. They asked Kellen Moore to be the interim head coach, and he said no. And it just seems like this team's out. They're done for the year, and I would probably feel very comfortable betting against them for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and we didn't touch on that, but the whole Kellen Moore saying no to the interim head coaching job is a god awful look if you're him. This is your opportunity to showcase yourself as a head coach. Realistically, it's not going to get any worse. Nobody expects the Chargers to win a game the rest of the year. So you going in there and losing 3 games, I don't think hurts you if you're Kellen Moore as far as getting a head coaching job. This game reminds me of earlier in the year, maybe midway through the year, when the Cowboys played the Giants, when the Giants first didn't have a quarterback and the spread was like 13.5. And everybody took an alt Cowboys line. I think that's exactly what you have to do here with the Bills. This feels like an absolute shit pumping.
Yeah. Next game, Colts Falcons. Dude, out on the Falcons. Hate them. So I'm just gonna take the Colts, but hate the Falcons.
Yeah, I love the Colts in this spot actually. And I know that I was a guy that vouched to have Taylor Heineke start, and he is getting the start. But
they're so bad, dude. They need to figure it out.
Their quarterback room's equally is in shambles. So I like the Colts here as well. I think this line shifts relative. Like I think we see this line go to the Colts being favorites. Although they did, like, I don't think is Pittman not playing, and then they just had Isaiah Rodgers get suspended for the rest of the year.
Isaiah Rodgers is on the Eagles.
No. There was a Isaiah on the Colts receiver.
Oh, okay.
Another guy.
Know. Oh yeah. Oh, Isaiah McKenzie.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he got suspended too.
Next game, Packers, Panthers. I don't know. If Packers should win, but
they certainly should win.
Yeah.
The Panthers are just not good. The game last week was a gift from God. I don't see them winning this football game. The Packers need to win this game.
Yeah. Next game, serious playoff implications for this game. Unfortunately, we won't be having CJ Stroud play. So Browns Texans. Browns at Texans. I don't know, dude. I probably like the Browns in this spot to win this game if CJ Stroud doesn't play, and it seems like he's not going to be.
Yeah, I think they already announced him out.
Okay.
So I would absolutely take the Browns here. They need this game too. And it's a tough spot for the Texans because they also need this game, but not having your starting quarterback is tough. And I think getting a win against the Titans last week without CJ Stroud is a little bit easier task than getting a win against the Browns this week without CJ Stroud.
I agree. Detroit Vikings. This line is such a rat line because they're just begging you to take the Lions -3, and like this line is going to close at like 5.5. I don't love this pick at all, and I don't love it at all, but I probably would take the Vikings in this spot, unfortunately. And I definitely like the over.
I think this game is going to be close, closer than I would like to admit. I don't know, Nick. I'm actually lying. I'm taking this back because Nick Mullins made a couple crazy plays last week to keep the Vikings in it, and they were playing a backup quarterback. I like the Lions in this one actually. I'm falling for the line, but that touchdown that he had to Jordan, or that couple completions that he had to Jordan Addison, Nick Mullins did as he's like falling to the ground, like
Yeah, he's a dog.
come on.
He's a dog.
I get it. I get it. You need some luck, but I don't. I don't like it this. I don't like it this week.
Next game, worst of the year.
Oh God.
Commanders Jets. I honestly love the Commanders in this spot. I just think that they're better on offense than the Jets are, and I don't think the Jets can. If it comes down to it, like I just think the Commanders can score more points than the Jets can, and I don't think if Zach
Wilson is playing,
cooking, which I don't think he is.
I'm asking you.
I think Trevor Simeon's playing.
Let me look.
Like if Zach's not out there cooking, like what's the point?
You're right. You're so true. So true.
So I just think that like the Commanders can outscore them.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you really only probably need to score like 10 points.
Yeah, and I think that
the issue though is the D line. The D line for the Jets is like kind of good, and the O line for the Commanders is kind of bad. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm right there. The Jets are just so bad on offense that if your defense is out on the field for 35 minutes of the game, they're gonna give up points eventually. I think this would be a teaser game. Add a couple points to the Commanders, but then again, like, what reason do they have to win?
They don't. Maybe this is the first week we start to see like the tanking take place for draft positioning, but I guess that's why we'll have to see it play out. Next game, Seattle.
Also, I wanted to say one other thing about that. I'm glad that the Jets have been eliminated from playoff contention because they finally admitted that Rodgers like wouldn't play.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that they like cleared him, or I don't know. He's annoying, bro. I don't like Rodgers. We said this 2 months ago.
I know. I'm just making sure we get our flowers.
I'm just
making sure we get our flowers.
Yeah, but we we're right. Like if people who thought that was ever going to be slightly a chance are just brain dead as fuck. Like honestly. Next game, Seahawks Titans. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I think Gino's gonna play. I mean, he almost played last week, but I think he plays this week.
I think that the Titans still haven't lost at home. I'm pretty sure.
I was gonna say,
like,
if Gino plays, I would take Seattle, but if it's Drew Lock, I think I'm taking the Titans.
Okay, I like that. Next game, Jacksonville at Bucks. Yeah, I don't know. Again, there's just so much. I think that the Bucks are hot, and if T-Law misses, I like the Bucks. Obviously, I think I like the Bucks either way.
Yeah, I do too. They're playing good football. I think Trevor Lawrence is still in concussion protocol. Yeah, as of okay, so 3 hours ago it says that he's progressing well in concussion protocol. Like I don't know what
What
that
does that
means,
mean?
but but yeah, I think the Bucks are probably the play here either way. He's just looked so discombobulated last week that it makes sense that he had a concussion, but I don't
I'm
know. I
actually
feel like
switching.
taking
I'm switching my pick. I'm going to take the Jags here because I think Baker is due to have a bad game after a massive game last week. So
you
I'm
think
taking
he
the
was too hot last week?
yeah, I'm taking the Jags. Switch my pick.
Okay. Okay. I love
Next,
this Cardinals Bears game.
yeah, next game Cardinals Bears. I mean I've taken the Cardinals like a lot, even like their money line against the Steelers like 2 weeks ago. Um, I like them to win this game probably if I'm being completely transparent because I don't think that the Cardinals are going to run it a lot. I think that they're going to be able to like throw it around the yard a little bit, and maybe the Cardinals defense can be frisky enough to make some plays.
I see the line that it's a favorable line for the under, but I like the over in this game. I think I mean you're the Cardinals and you just put up 25 against
29.
29 against the Niners. I mean, I know the Bears defense has been playing a lot better, but I mean, you put up 29, you think that I think the Bears are going to score 21 at least. Like I love the over in this game. I don't
Yeah,
understand why it's this low.
yeah, I'm with you. I like the over two. Next game, this is gonna be a great game. Dallas Cowboys at Dolphins. Just based on how the injury report looks for the Dolphins currently, I'm probably gonna lean towards Dallas. But if the entire offensive line isn't playing, which they
I
were
know.
literally like all out today, which I don't know if they're like down that bad, but I know Tyreek Hill was like a scratch like right before the game last week. I don't know if that's gonna happen again, but yeah, I think that I'd probably like Dallas to bounce back here and definitely like the under.
I'm right there with you. I didn't I saw that tweet about the line for the Dolphins, all their whole line being out. That's insane.
Yeah.
Um, I think Tyreek Hill is probably going to play no matter what. I mean, unless his foot is like ankle is separated from his body. I think that'd be the only way because the Dolphins like actually need to win these games, and it's like a big time game against Dallas. Like normally you suit up and you get juiced up for a game like that. So I think he probably plays.
We just don't know how bad his injury is.
I think he plays through it.
Yeah.
He just
Well,
seems like too much of a dog, and he's
I'm with
just
you.
like,
I
"Hey,
thought
they need me to play this game. I don't think they didn't need him last week." Like,
but I was shocked that he did not play last week. So I don't know.
I agree, and I
It was
think it
weird.
goes to show, though. I think it goes to show that he made it all the way up until right before the game, and then it was like, "Ah, I'm not going to play." I think him not playing and then having this whole week off. I think that will absolutely benefit him, and I think he'll end up playing.
Fair. Next game.
I love the Dolphins. If
Next,
they're if they don't have 5 O linemen out.
yeah. Next game. The Patriots at Denver. I don't think Denver should be favored by 6.5 over anybody. So I'd probably just take the Patriots and just say fuck it. But I mean, I'm probably not going to bet on this game, but I like like 6.5 points is a ton of points to win by when it seems like every single Broncos game comes down to like the very last possession.
Yeah, it feels like every Broncos game is either they win by 3 points or they lose by 3 or they lose by like 20. It feels
Yeah.
like those are the only 3 options that the
Yeah.
Broncos have all year. So take that as you please, but this feels like another like a game that I would put in the teaser with the Commanders. I'd throw the Pats in there too. Maybe take it to like plus 10.5, 12.5.
Next game, Raiders at Chiefs. I've
10
said
is crazy.
10's crazy. It's too much. It's probably gonna get bigger too. So pause. So we'll see. We'll see like what it closes at, but dude, 10 is entirely too much. The Chiefs suck. Like they're not good. So I'm probably gonna feel like I think Josh Jacobs is probably gonna come back next week. Yeah, I like the Raiders plus 10 here, like no doubt. And I would probably sprinkle their money line.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there. 10 for the Chiefs, who've not been playing well, is crazy. I understand the Raiders just went absolutely nuclear last week, so like people are probably predicting them to have like a down game, but I think this game's going to be is going to be closer than 10 points. That's the Chiefs aren't that good.
No. Next game, Eagles minus 11.5 to the Giants. I mean, I think that the Eagles try to come out and put up points. I mean, if you can't put up points against this team, against Wink, I don't know, dude. I have no clue. They would have to have some serious discussions on how they want to handle this. I realize these are 3 Monday games.
Yeah.
Oh, these are Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. If the Eagles can't handle business against the Giants at home, I just mail in the season because the fans might burn down the stadium.
So I saw today that some of the Eagles fans are organizing a rally outside of the NovaCare practice facility, and they're going to give the Eagles the Trey Turner treatment. So when Trey Turner was sucking for the Phillies, they gave him a standing O for like a bunch of games, and he just went crazy after. So hopefully that works. I still think 11.5 points is probably too much for the way that this offense is playing. I think Wink Martindale is going to just repeatedly send the blitz, send the house after Jalen. This game is either going to be like a one possession game or the Eagles are going to win by 30. But I'm leaning closer to a one possession game.
Okay. I'm leaning to they win more by 30, but I like their team total over too. Next game, Ravens.
Game of the
49.
weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Game of the year. Ravens 49ers. We're getting good ones like late into the season now. My immediate thought is like probably take Ravens first half spread. And
that's your go-to.
Yeah, always. I've hit on that like a ton this season, like honestly almost every single one of their games. So I like that, but I kind of do like them to win this game outright at San Francisco. The reasoning behind that is their defense. I think that their defense is really good, and I think that they're probably going to be able to force a turnover against Brock Purdy. And the Ravens have proven that if they need to put up 30 plus points, they can do it at a drop of a hat. And I think that you saw the Cardinals put up 29 against them last week. I don't think the Ravens are going to struggle to score against them. And I like their defense against the 49ers. I mean, it's obviously a tall task, but they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. So, yeah, I like the Ravens to win outright.
So this could be the Super Bowl matchup. What I will say is Lamar Jackson as an underdog is 9-4 in his career. Which I would say that's pretty good. Hasn't been an underdog much, but
that's good.
Some would say that's good. I love 5.5 at the very least in this game. I think the Ravens are really good. I think they're going to be able to score and keep up with the Niners. I'm really excited to watch this game. I would take, like I said, I would take Ravens. I'm taking Ravens plus 5.5. I think this game's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Definitely fun to watch.
Super Bowl matchup potentially, like I said. This is a show me what you're made of game, I think, for the Ravens, for the Niners. I think it's going to be a bloodbath, but I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm hoping the Ravens win.
Quick reminder, next week, whenever they play, we're going to fade the 49ers and the Ravens, win or loss, because they're going to be so beat up after this game, be so physical, and it's on a Monday night. They'll be on a short week. So the following week, remind me when we go over the games to bet against both of these teams.
So, next week, the Ravens have the Dolphins at 1, and the
Trap.
Niners have
That's
the
a trap.
Niners have the Commanders at 1. Not a trap. Not a
Not a
trap.
trap. Not a trap.
You think I'm fading the Niners against the
Yeah.
Commanders? You're out of your
Yeah.
mind.
Not a trap at all. You said you want to talk about bowl games. You still want to do that?
So I think we can say I was looking at some of the upcoming ones, and between now and the next pod, there's not that many. Like, there's really not bowl games that are worth mentioning. So we can push that off to the next one. But I just did want to say that the UTS, there was 2 games that there was a game or 2 that already happened, and then hold on, where the hell is it? So last night, UTSA played Marshall, and the quarterback matchup was Owen McCown versus Cole Pennington.
Yeah, I saw that.
Josh McCown's son and Chad Pennington's son, which I thought was pretty cool. The other day, Western Kentucky played ODU. ODU, I want to say, was like a 3.5 point favorite. They were winning 28-7 at halftime, and Western Kentucky like put a quarterback in that entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, I saw that.
Brought him back to win. It was on a overtime field goal. It was wild. Kind of sucks for them as far as like they just brought in this quarterback and they win their game, but then he's going to leave. Like, he raised his stock.
Good for him. Yeah, it's
100% at least.
He might get a look from a bigger school.
Yeah. And then I would say the one game that I just wanted to mention between now and the next pod is Kansas UNLV. I'm curious to see how Kansas offense looks since they lost their OC. Kansas was a team that like I watched a good amount this year because their offense was honestly so fun. And then UNLV, the last bowl game they were in was like 9 years ago, and they're not normally good. They've only been in 9 bowl games this year, like in their
this year.
This year, they've only been in 9 bowl games in like their team's history, and they're 0-9. So why not them?
Yeah, I like that. All right, dude. Well,
I
don't have anything else.
Nope, that's all I got. The Travis concert's gonna be sick. Have fun. Merry Christmas. Tell the family I said Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I'm probably gonna be missing a majority of the Sunday games this week, so I'm gonna have to swing back around to watch them on Sunday. But I'll be in the vehicle driving home from Boston. So, but
drive safe. I'll take as many notes as need be for these games.
Thank you, brother.
Make sure that we're good to go.
No go Birds this week.
No, I didn't. You didn't give me. Oh, holy crap! You didn't give me a chance.
All right, dude.
Go Birds.
All right, see you, brother.